You think you brought your cat home. You think you fed them, named them, gave them a place on the couch. But the arrangement between your species and theirs is older than your country, older than agriculture itself. And your cat knows exactly which side of it they're on. Welcome back to 9 Lives Watching. In 2007, Carlos Driscoll's mitochondrial DNA work traced every domestic cat on Earth back to a single subspecies, the Near Eastern wildcat. The cat walked in on its own. It is 10,000 BCE. The Fertile Crescent? Humans have just done something no species has done before. They have stopped moving. Agriculture is new. Grain storage is new. And with the grain came something nobody planned for. Mice. Rats. Entire populations of rodents flooding into the first permanent human settlements, consuming stored food, contaminating what they couldn't eat, threatening entire communities before the first winter ended. The Near Eastern wildcat, Felis sylvestris libica, was solitary, nocturnal, and deeply hostile to anything that came near it. But it was watching. A grain store full of rodents was not a threat. It was a hunting ground. The cats that were bold enough to move toward human settlements instead of away from them ate better, survived longer, and passed that reduced fear of humans to their offspring. Generation after generation, the bolder cats thrived. The cautious ones disappeared. The cat inverted the order. Every other domesticated animal was captured first and shaped second. The cat chose us and let the biology follow. Driscoll's mitochondrial DNA analysis confirmed what the fossil record had only suggested. Every domestic cat alive today, every single one, traces back to that one population, in that one place, at that one moment in human history. The cat evolution story begins not with a human decision, but with a wildcat's calculation. A small predator assessed the arrangement and found it favorable, and the relationship that followed was already something far stranger than simple pest control, because the grain store was only the beginning. In 2004, archaeologist Jean-Denis Vigne excavated a grave on the island of Cyprus dating back 9,500 years. A human skeleton lay with a feline companion, not a wildcat killed for its fur, but a creature deliberately positioned next to a person, facing the same direction, separated by only 40 centimeters. Someone 9,500 years ago, before the pyramids, before written language, before most of what we call civilization existed, loved their cat enough to make certain they did not go into the ground alone. The relationship had already moved well past utility, whatever the cat had offered in that Neolithic settlement. It had also offered something that made a grieving human reach into their grief and say, "This animal comes with me." That grave predates the Egyptian dynasty by more than 4,000 years. The bond encoded in it is older than almost everything humans have ever built. 10,000 years later, in Egypt, the cat stopped being a useful animal entirely. By 1,500 BCE, cats had crossed a threshold no other species in human history has crossed. They became sacred. Egyptian dwellings harbored venomous snakes and scorpions that could kill a child in hours, and cats hunted them. Bastet, depicted as a woman with a cat's head, represented the protection of the home, the safety of children, and the continuity of the family. She was among the most widely worshipped figures in the entire Egyptian world. The cats themselves inherited every fragment of that status. Killing a cat was punishable by death, not exile. Death. When a household cat died of natural causes, the family shaved their eyebrows in formal mourning. The cats were mummified, wrapped with care, and buried with small clay vessels of milk. Entire cemeteries of mummified cats have been uncovered at sites including Beni Hassan. Hundreds of thousands of animals given the same burial consideration as the companions who had cherished them. The wildcat that walked out of the wilderness had woven itself into a belief system. Then it left Egypt entirely. Ottoni's 2017 ancient DNA study analyzed over 200 cat remains spanning 9,000 years of human history across 3 continents. What the DNA confirmed was extraordinary. The feline expansion happened in 2 separate phases. The initial wave accompanied early agricultural populations moving out of the Fertile Crescent, working animals traveling wherever agriculture traveled. The second wave came directly from Egypt. High-status cats, descendants of sacred animals, moving along maritime trade routes throughout the Mediterranean and far beyond. The genetic trail eventually led somewhere nobody had predicted. Egyptian cat lineages appeared at Viking settlements in the Baltic, dated to the 7th century CE. Viking longships carried cats on every voyage, not as companions, as crew. Ships carried grain. Grain attracted rats. Rats destroyed food supplies and chewed through the rigging holding the sails. The same animal that had stepped into a Neolithic grain store 10,000 years earlier had now crossed oceans on vessels built by the Norse. The cat was no longer choosing a single settlement. It was choosing the entire planet. And then, for 300 years, the arrangement nearly ended. Medieval Europe turned against the cat. Church doctrine linked cats to witchcraft and heresy, and what followed was something close to organized extermination. Millions of cats were killed across the continent. The Black Death arrived in Europe in 1347. The connections that scholars, including James Serpell, have documented between the collapse of the cat population and the conditions that accelerated the plague's spread are difficult to read without a certain weight settling in. The cats that survived that period rebuilt the population from the edges. In port cities and rural areas, where the persecutions were less organized, in the holds of ships, where their utility was too obvious to ignore. Their descendants are alive today. Every modern cat carries the genetic legacy of animals that endured what humans tried to do to them and survived it anyway, which brings the story to the strangest part, not historical, biological. Montague's 2014 genome sequencing compared domestic cat DNA to wildcat DNA in detail that earlier studies couldn't reach. What it found was a set of specific genetic changes in regions governing fear response, aggression, and the capacity to form positive associations with other species. The domestic cat's brain changed over thousands of years of proximity to humans, not because humans were breeding toward a goal, they weren't, but because the cats that survived longest were the ones whose neurology made them best suited to living alongside human psychology. It emerged in the Middle Ages and spread because humans found it appealing and kept those animals longer. The cats that looked the way humans wanted to look outlived the ones that didn't. And then there's the meow. Adult wild cats do not meow at each other. Meowing is a kitten vocalization, used to signal distress to a mother, that adult cats in the wild abandon completely. Domestic cats never stopped. McComb's 2009 research found that embedded inside the domestic cat's meow is a high-frequency cry sitting precisely within the frequency range of a human infant in distress. That is the sound the human brain is most neurologically primed to respond to before conscious thought can intervene. People consistently rated it as more urgent and harder to ignore than any standard cat vocalization, even when they had no idea what they were actually hearing. Your cat evolved that sound specifically to reach you. It does not use it on other cats. It uses it on you. You are the platform it runs on. Your cat is not your pet. Your cat is the descendant of an animal that chose this arrangement before your country existed. The grain store, the grave in Cyprus, the Egyptian temple, the Viking longship, the plague years, and now your couch. You are not their owner. You are the latest human in a very long line, and they have been training you the whole time. Tonight, listen for your cat to meow at you. Adult cats don't meow at each other. They only do it at humans. That sound is a learned behavior, evolved specifically to get a response out of you. Acknowledge it. You are not just feeding your cat. You are completing the contract your species signed 10,000 years ago. We all love our cats and would do anything for them. But which part of this hit hardest? The grain store? The grave in Cyprus? The Egyptian temple? Or the meow you heard tonight? Tell me in the comments. Next week, we open the next case file on the feral mind. Subscribe so you don't miss it.